And that was just yesterday with the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. Now, what does this investment, what does it mean for the Nigerian government, the multinationals, as well as the investors involved in this transaction, particularly in this case where Nigerian investors are the one acquiring the assets? We have the right person in the house. Is the Chief Finance Officer of Heirs Oil and Gas, Mr. Samuel Nwanze. Thank you very much, Mr. Nwanze, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start this way. Just like the minister said, I was thinking, why did you guys embark on this investment?
Yeah, I mean, at Heirs Holdings, we do investments that are focused on both generating commercial return, but more importantly, creating economic impact, developmental impact. And for the longest time, we've always seen that there was a big gap as it relates to the energy space in Nigeria and across Africa, actually. And you and I know that in order for any economy to grow and to, experience the needed impact, energy plays a critical role. So a couple of years ago, 8 years ago actually, we began to look at the whole energy space. We had initially looked at investments on the power side. We did, through Transcorp, did an acquisition of the Transcorp Ughelli power plant, of the Ughelli power plant. And then we began to realize that it was important for us to have control of certain upstream resources that would help to drive an integrated energy play. And so we started looking at this asset at the time, had conversations with the sellers, Shell, Total, and ENI. And that led to the acquisition of this 45% participating interest, which we have now.
Well, great move there. Now, but let's now look at how this benefits government and, of course, investors like you. You're in many fields like you identified. So what's the benefit in all of this?
Yeah, for the government, I think the benefits are tremendous. So first of all is the fact that our participation in this transaction, we have a growth plan, which we have, discussed with the government, with DPR, with the NNPC, that would see a boost to economic activities, both at the local level, at the state level, and generally for the economy. The activities we intend to bring to the space will create a lot of, so we generate a lot of social, economic development in that area. The second thing is employment. Because we are now focused on this asset, and it's something that we are driving quite critically, there's a lot of employment benefits that is going to create. We've already started this. We've already assembled a team of very solid experts and professionals who are Nigerian indigenes. We've brought a number of them back home to work this asset and to generate the return that we are looking for. And these people will create not only benefit on the asset, but will help to build capacity of our younger ones that are coming and trying to go into the field. So you see that benefit of both employment and capacity building. And then the third thing is in terms of the revenue sources, additional revenue source or growth in the revenue source for the government. This asset hasn't really been working to its full potential in the last couple of decades. And because this is a focus for us, we already estimate that the government will benefit more in terms of royalties, taxes, levies, that is up to about 6.5 times what is currently being generated. So there are huge, tremendous benefits. And then the last one I'd like to mention is the attraction that this is creating in terms of international foreign investment into Nigeria. I think the signal to the market is, irrespective of the fact that we are going through a pandemic situation, irrespective of the fact that you're looking at onshore oil and gas, it is possible to do very good, solid deals that can attract foreign investment to the space.
Indeed, that confidence brings that confidence, Now, let's now look at host community. That's something that is very important in this part of the world. People talk about our relationship with host community. We know what's happened one time before now. Now, how do you plan to make this seamless?
I think that's one of the major part of it for us, and I'll say one of the part that is very easy for us as a group. As you know, community relations, working with the community is not just an oil and gas thing. It's something that is every business needs to recognize the role of the community in wherever they play and have this shared destiny structure. And it's something we at Heirs Holdings have been doing, right from inception. In all our businesses, in finance, in power, in healthcare, in hospitality, we work very closely with the communities. And now, particularly for this particular transaction and this particular asset, I think the first thing I would say is that we ourselves, being indigenes, we have a closer relationship with the community than the IOCs. For us, the people in the communities are not people where we don't have a structure where we fly in, carry out our activities and fly out. We are based in the communities. Indigenous. These communities are us. We're indigenous. It's our fathers, it's our mothers, it's our uncles, our aunts. So we have a closer affinity to the community. And now specifically what we intend to do here is, first of all, is to grow enhance the existing community engagement plans that the IOCs have put in place by bringing in a more local and indigenous flair to it. Secondly is to strengthen the governance model around a lot of the commitments that have been made so that you ensure that those commitments are actually put through. But thirdly, and more importantly, is we intend to bring capacity building and entrepreneurship development. If you look at what we've done as a group with the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we focused in the last 7 years, on capacity development and entrepreneurship because we believe that is a solution to addressing the problem of poverty, which we believe is linked to the situation of insecurity. And so we've designed a customized version of the Tony Elumelu Foundation and entrepreneurship program targeted at the community. Already, we've been doing stuff in this area. Yeah. We've already funded about 900 entrepreneurs in this area. Over 250 of them in the agricultural space. You have over almost 100 of them in the ICT space. You have people in tech, and all of that. But we are now going to design something that is a little bit more customized, fitted to the local community to build capacity and to grow entrepreneurship. And then the last thing I will mention is, as a business principle, we operate our business with a shared destiny. If we do well, the community does well. As the community does well, we do well. So we have a link in terms of how we see our growth model with the areas in which we operate. And that we will do no less in doing that, in bringing that to this particular transaction.
A big transaction indeed. Let's do a summary of this transaction. Give us a brief summary of this transaction.
Okay, well, it's an acquisition of OML 17 and its related assets. Okay. The assets involved includes the block. The block itself is about a 1.2 billion, 1.2 billion barrels of oil equivalent. Wow. It has about additional 1 billion barrels of exploration upside. It also includes about 2.2 TCF of gas, 2P reserves. So you're talking huge assets. The asset covers an area of over 1,300 square kilometers and also includes a number of gas processing plants. In fact, the current gas processing capacity in this asset is about 170 million scf. So we are talking a significant piece of acreage. And so what we acquired is 45% participating interest, from 30% from Shell, 10% from Total, and 5% from ENI. Okay. The total deal side was about, in terms of the acquisition itself, was about $800 million. And that's why you see in the Shell release, you find 533, which is 30% of the Shell portion. Okay. If you prorate that across the entire 45, you understand why it's 800. And then we raised the additional 200 and almost $300 million to cover things like cost of doing the transaction and also ensure that we have adequate working capital as we move into the assets. So that's really pretty much what the transaction is about. The deal was done, was advised by Standard Chartered Bank and one of our very strong local investment houses, United Capital. We syndicated the transaction from a wide variety of international, regional and local lenders, including some of the big asset management companies, the global leading asset management companies in the world. And the deal is creating a lot of interest. In fact, we think that this deal, the way the deal is structured, we think is that going to be one that will be studied for a very long time. Because to do a deal of that nature at a time like this, required a lot of effort and a lot of thinking and structuring on the side of Heirs Holdings. And I think we were able to attract all of that to make sure that this takes place.
I wanted to ask you before I go into financing that, looking at the market, looking at the crude oil market and COVID-19 pandemic, all of this that we've been seeing, you guys still took this bold step.
Yeah, I think it boils down to our investment philosophy as a group. Heirs Holdings is a long-term investment company. We are not normally moved by vagaries or volatilities, short-time circles in market movements. We always take a long-term view. And if you follow the thinking I've been trying to espouse, we see a gap as the energy space is concerned in Africa. And it is clear to us that that gap will be filled. It needs to be filled if the continent is going to move forward. So that long-term view is what drove us into the deal. And we have the staying power to be able to wade through the challenges that we may see along this journey to fulfill that vision of building an integrated energy business.
Financing is key. We talked about money here. You're talking about some millions of dollars, and in all, it's about 1.1 billion US dollars. Now, how did you raise this money?
Yeah, I mean, we worked with, like I mentioned, with a couple of leading institutions. Standard Chartered is our global coordinator, working with United Capital on the local side. We went out there. We knew that if we were going to be able to close a deal of this nature, we had to structure the deal in a way and manner that it was attractive enough for international investors. So all the elements that helps to mitigate against risks, volatilities, and to ensure that the investors are getting a good measure for the risks that they are taking were embedded in the deal itself. And so we got a number of international institutions, Afrexim, AFC, Standard Chartered, APSA, some of the big names that do oil and gas financing globally and regionally were all part of the deal. And we do see that a lot of things we want to do going forward. We know that this will be a template that people will look at and study to help drive the thinking and to build that confidence that you can actually do a deal, irrespective of where the market environment is. If it's well structured, you can do a deal. Nigeria remains very attractive. The fundamentals haven't changed, and the opportunities are tremendous.
Indeed, I'm happy to be a Nigerian. Tell us more about TNOG.
Yeah, Heirs Oil and Gas, which is what we're calling the organization.
Heirs Oil and Gas now.
Heirs Oil and Gas, that's the name of the organization. We set up the organization basically to drive our energy play, starting with the acquisition of upstream assets. Our focus in the first couple of years is to acquire the assets, which we have done, and then to focus on working those assets to bring them back to their capacity. This asset we are talking about has the facilities in this asset have an installed capacity of about 240,000 barrels per day. That's what this asset can produce. Right now, it's doing around about 27,000 barrels. So there's a big opportunity, and the reserves are there. The resources are there. This can be produced. So our focus is to ramp up, production, and also to focus on the gas strategy. We are sitting on 2.2 TCF of gas. And when you think about the challenges or the situation we have in the country and the move that, the government and NNPC is trying to do towards actualizing the gas potential of this country, this asset plays right into it. There's a brand new gas processing plant which we are going to commission later this year in the assets, the Agbada processing plant, about 80 million scf. There's an existing capacity in the asset, including these 8 million scf, of 170 million. And knowing the group that I work for and I come from, we will do more. So those are the kind of things that we are trying to bring to the table and make a difference. I love what the Minister of State said about local indigenous players making a difference. That's exactly what we believe in Heirs Holdings and what we want to do with this transaction.
Indeed, I think I agree that Nigeria is more of a gas nation even than crude oil, because the minister's been saying this, and really with what I'm seeing, and I totally believe this. I don't know, a lot has been said already, but let's just round it up this way. What more? Like you said, you already said we should expect more, but As we move on in 2021, what more should we expect from Heirs Holding and particularly Heirs Oil and Gas?
Yeah, I think, it's a good question. I think what I would say is just watch the space. Heirs Holdings, I've been with Heirs Holdings right from the inception, working with the organization for 11 years now. And we're a very ambitious group, extremely focused on developmental impact. And I think we have a number of things in the pipeline. I mean, just last year, we did announce a number of deals. And there are a number of things we have in the pipeline, which I would say, just keep an eye on the group. Heirs Holdings, Transcorp, just keep an eye on that group. There's a lot there's a lot down the line.
All right, then it's really great to see local investors playing in the oil and gas space. I am really impressed. I must thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us,
Thanks,
Mr. Samuel Nwanze, on a Friday. I know the traffic and all of that. Chief Finance Officer of Heirs Oil and Gas Limited. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you
and
very
keep
much.
TVC posted anytime there's anything happening.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, then.
Absolutely.